A warm welcome everyone, I hope you are well. My name is Nick, and on the channel every 2 weeks we do this kind of roundup thing, which I'm sure you're well aware. If you're a new subscriber or it's the first time you've looked at these, a big hello to you. I'm glad you could drop by. But essentially the reason behind these is we look at the games we reviewed over the last 2 weeks and we try and rank them in some sort of order. Which were the good ones, which were the bad ones, and you might have a different order to me, or you might say what games you've been playing, and we might have a bit of a discussion about that. Anyway, before we look at those top 6, I always, every Thursday we'll be tending to review a pinball table, a digital download, so we'll start there first of all. And the first one we looked at this time round was the last table of the original Marvel pack on Zen Pinball 2 by Zen Studios. It was Blade, published in 2013 as a 4-pack, along with Spider-Man and others we reviewed in the last 3 weeks there. Iron Man and Wolverine were the other 2 there. Blade is based on like a vampire theme, based, if you've seen the Blade films starring Wesley Snipes. Bit more aggressive than Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but the good thing about this table is it does have 2 modes, like a night mode and a day mode, and there's quite a lot to do. It's probably the most complex of the 4 tables, I would have to say. And yeah, it's okay, I quite enjoyed it. There's a massive vampiric deity that crops up in the night stage, and you're going to get quite a lot of play on that one. My review lasted a bit longer than I generally give to pinball tables, so it's a matter that I got absorbed and enjoyed it. So that was Blade. Now, Season 5 of the Pinball Arcade has now been fully released on the PlayStation 3. If you buy it on PlayStation 3, you get it for the PS Vita as well. So I've dived straight back into that. So these are digital recreations of real-life tables. There's 11 in that pack. So, kicking this Season 5 off, the first one we looked at was the Getaway High Speed 2. That was published in 2015, because Pinball Arcade did 3 tables in 2015 of the Season 5, and then it all seems to grind to a halt. But if you're familiar with the original High Speed game, which I reviewed, I think that was like Season 3, it's an evolution of that. It's like a Getaway sort of a speed theme. The one difference between this and the original High Speed is there's an additional ramp, like a multiplier that builds up. Some of the targets have had to be moved to cater for that, but it's an okay table. It's not personally one of my favourite ones, but I can see it's an evolution over the first table, and for that it's okay. So that's the Getaway High Speed 2. Check out that review if you haven't already, by Farsight Studios, and as I say, we'll be gradually going through the other 10 tables in that pack. Okay, so the top 6 then this time round. You might agree with these, you might not. So in 6th place was Action Fighter on the ZX Spectrum, published by Firebird Software in 1989. Now it's heavily influenced by a more popular game called Spy Hunter, where it's a top-down race game where you must avoid cars, do jumps, shoot the bad guys, and every so often a support lorry would turn up and you drive into that lorry to gain an extra weapon. See, very Spy Hunter-ish. It's not quite as good as Spy Hunter, it's very monochrome. What is good about this game, it moves quite fast. You start off on a motorbike, and then it gradually evolves. You then got a car, and then a flying car, and then eventually other stuff as well, which I can't fully remember. Like Spy Hunter as well, enemy helicopter comes up every now and again to try and kill you. It's trying to be Spy Hunter, but in my opinion it's not quite as good. Not a terrible game by any means, but in 6th place this time round. And in 5th place on the Game Boy Advance is Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed. Yep, by Destination Software in 2004. All the way through the review I called it Distinction Software, but it's definitely Destination Software, often abbreviated as DSI. Now with this game, it uses a 3D engine like the previous Need for Speed Underground games did on the Game Boy Advance. And what the Game Boy Advance struggles with is textured surfaces. It makes it confusing for the eye to see what's actually going on. I think plain polygons often work best, and they're a better experience, like Drone Racers or Hot Wheels Stunt Track Challenge. This is okay. The dashboard graphic is quite nice of the Porsche, and all the way through the game you get different Porsches to drive, so they do handle the same. There's rain stages. Again, I didn't notice too much difference in the handling. The presentation is a little bit bland. It moves okay speed-wise, but it's not really that inspiring. It doesn't try anything new. So quite safely I can have that one in 5th place. And in 4th place, another racer, a little bit better than Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed, is Penny Racers by THQ or Exocat. I think they did that joint together. And that was in 2002, so 2 years prior to Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed. With the 3D driving games, I think slightly cartoony ones work better than they try and do the modern realistic games. And this one harks back to the cartoon style. It's based on Penny Racers. You might have had them as a kid, where you pull back the car and it's on a like spring and goes forward, and you can put a penny in the back to make it do wheelies. It's a quite well put together game. I really like the sound and music of this. Could have had it in 3rd place. It was very close, but in the end I had it as 4th place because although it was good, it's one of the better cartoony driving games on the Game Boy Advance. I prefer Mario Kart still and Konami Racers. It's sort of like okay without being sensational. So in 6th place I had Action Fighter on the ZX Spectrum from 1989. 5th place Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed in 2004. And in 4th place this time Penny Racers by THQ or Exocat in 2002. So let's push on. What was the top 3 this time round? In 3rd place was WOLFCHILD on the Commodore Amiga, published by Core Design, who later went on to do the Tomb Raider games, and this was in 1992. It's very Turricaney in theme, and in graphics it looks very similar. Great music and really well thought out design levels. Very tricky, so I was playing this with a cheat mode on, which sometimes I do, so I can show you a bit of the game. But essentially in this, your father has been kidnapped, and using one of his potions there to turn you into a wolf if need be for superhuman strength, you've got to fight all the cronies, all the bad guys to rescue him and save the day. There's quite a lot to do there, so if you bought this game back in the day you would have your money's worth. I slightly prefer Turrican, which it's trying to be, I believe, but WOLFCHILD is a good game, so if you're looking for a platform shooter on the Commodore Amiga and you like the Turrican games and maybe Strider as well, then this isn't a bad one to look into as well. Really thought out well, really well designed, a WOLFCHILD. Originally I thought it was a Psygnosis game, but it is core design and well done too, good backgrounds. And so in 2nd place is Lemmings on the ZX Spectrum. Yeah, I mean a lot of people didn't know this come out on the 8-bit system because it was a bit of a late release when the 8-bits were dying down and people were moving off over to 16-bit games because they wanted to keep up with their friends essentially. This was published by Psygnosis in 1991, so right near the end of the Spectrum's commercial shelf life, although it's having a big renaissance now. You have to compare this to the 16-bit games. I played it on the 48K, which didn't have the music. Apparently the 128K version does, but it's not going to be as good as the Amiga or the PlayStation 1 or the Sega systems, etc. there. What I was really impressed with this game, they've gone for a single colour, which I think was the right thing to do, because I think colour clash would have made this game a little bit garish on the eyes. But the animation is absolutely perfect for Lemmings. When you're playing it, you definitely feel like it's Lemmings. It's a great conversion. The levels are exactly the same as the Commodore Amiga version for what I could make out. And the style of play is good as well. If you're unaware of Lemmings, you have to guide a tribe from one point to another point without them getting killed, getting them over obstacles by digging, building bridges, and floating down things, climbing and so forth. But it's really well done, this game. If you have a ZX Spectrum or even an emulator, track down Lemmings. It's well worth having a look at. As I say, a lot of people would have played this on the 16-bit systems and maybe the 32-bit systems afterwards, and unaware they did actually come out on some of the 8-bit systems. So, you know, take this opportunity, have a load of that. There's quite long loading times between levels if you're doing it on a tape-based system. You have to sit with it, which might give you a tape loading error at some stage, but it does give you passwords, so if you fail one time then you can have another go. So that was Lemmings there in 2nd place. And number 1 this week, my favourite game of the bunch, was IKARI Warriors on the Commodore Amiga, published by Elite Systems 1988, and its conversion from the arcades. Previously I did review this on the ZX Spectrum, which was okay. The Commodore Amiga takes it to a slightly different level. It's a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier to avoid the bullets. For 1 to 2 players, I don't know if I slightly prefer Commando or this one. On the ZX Spectrum I prefer Commando to IKARI Warriors. When you go over to the Amiga, I think oddly I prefer the IKARI Warriors conversion to the Commando version. What's good about this one, which I didn't realise when I was reviewing the Spectrum one, is you can actually get in the tank, which is minuscule, but anyway it's well worth doing. It's a well thought out levels there. It does vary, there's quite a lot to do, and all round I thought it's a good game, and I'm proud to have that in first place this time. So in third place we have WOLFCHILD on the Commodore Amiga, published by Core Design in '92. In second place Lemmings on the ZX Spectrum from 1991, and in first place IKARI Warriors by Elite Systems on the Commodore Amiga from 1988. Well, I hope you liked seeing the games in this 2-week period. I do like if you put comments below, although it's not compulsory by any means. The main thing is getting enjoyment and getting a bit of nostalgia, a bit of a buzz from it. So, yep, I can keep the channel going on. Have a great weekend, and until next time, take great care of yourself and are very fond. Goodbye.
Goodbye.